Welcome back to the BoostedRide YouTube channel. This is the aftermath video from the Carolina dragway where we come home with $10,000. So stay tuned because there's some major things that are going on here that we did not know about until we went to unload. So I'll update you guys on that stuff, show you everything that we know and some things that we maybe possibly don't know. Stay tuned. Well, I guess first off, let's start here with burning green. Hopefully the mic quality is a little better, guys. I moved it clear down on my big belly down here, so that way I'm not talking so loud into the mic. I think I was just maxing out the microphone. So I went ahead and I did pressure wash it off. I need to get it cleaned up a little bit better today from the fire extinguisher, because if you didn't see the video, obviously, we had a little bit of a methanol fire. And a lot of that is coming from this catch can that's up here on the firewall. So we need to figure out a different situation. You know, you get all the vapors coming out of here, and, well, you know, it really probably wouldn't happen if, I'll explain why the headers were glowing red here in a little bit, but if that wasn't glowing red, this very well possibly couldn't have happened. But it did, and it's still a concern, because even though that I know why they were glowing red now, they still could glow a little cherry red, and I really don't want to have that right there, have the vapors, and have an issue again. I did not look inside this catch tank. I think our blow-by situation, but again, guys, we were only turning like 6,000 RPMs at best. Yeah, there's some in there, very little, which I would expect. What else? I think that's really about it on this one, because unfortunately, like I said, we couldn't turn any RPM. So we still have quite a bit of tire left on this thing. Let's get a shot down here. There's tread left. That's never, ever a good sign. So I've got the battery charger on it because we went to crank it up to drive it inside and the motor would not crank over. I did put a breaker bar in the blower and it does turn the motor over. So there's nothing, I shouldn't say there's nothing wrong with the motor, but the motor's not locked up. I think we may have fried the wire coming on the passenger side to the starter, which, you know, shocker, right? And yeah, everything inside is pretty much good to go, but no issues with the display this time. We are on the Dominator, which is just laying on the floor. Need to get that situation figured out. So, the real answer to what happened to burning green, starting at Florida. I borrowed a cord for the Terminator from a canned USB from Kevin at KSR, so thank you to him for that. But, hindsight, I wish he wouldn't have had it, because that's what caused all of our issues. And what I mean by that is I actually added a advanced table in there where if oil pressure, just like what's in Death Trap, where when oil pressure drops below a certain PSI, it starts to pull timing. Well, as many of you guys guessed, it was running very retarded in timing, hence the reason that all the methanol was burning in the pipes. In fact, burning all the way in the pipes, all the way to the rear end. Some people had some really good pictures of that. And so that's what's going on with this. Oil pressure, I don't know if it's really that great, to be honest. It wasn't. And, you know, them parading this all around got the oil extremely hot. So, you know, we were in that, I think it was from like 50-something PSI down to 30 is where it started to pull timing, making it from 0 to negative 40 degrees to make it run like crap. So I knew if we were low on oil pressure. But for this motor, you know, we don't run this like Death Trap, where Death Trap, I think at the beginning of the run, had 150 PSI all the way down to like 70-something at the end of the run. This one, it's on a stock wet sump. I think it's just a high pressure pump, if that. It might even just be stock replacement, but I think it's high pressure, not high volume. And yeah, you just don't get the PSI out of it. So that is what happened. I changed it in Florida. Makes perfect sense. Why the dash froze on us? That I don't know. That part still is a mystery, so I still left it on the Dominator for this one. Put the same thing back in, put the same table back in, and that's what screwed us. So, unfortunately, I wanted to go ham on that one and turn that baby for the last event. I had it cranked up to a little over 8,000 just so I could try and hover at 8,000, try and pull Kyle Douglas, and actually see if we could do the same thing. Now, on to the winning truck here. I've got some stuff underneath that I got to show you guys, but first, let's start up top here. I pulled the plug off of our catch tank, which again is in this front grill area here. This had a little bit of oil in it, but this is all methanol. So this tray, besides a little bit of black oil, had nothing in it, and it filled up half a tray of just pure methanol. I mean, it's not good to have all the methanol, but that means we're taking the vapors when we're heating this motor up, pushing the vapors up into our catch tank. It's collecting it, which is good, and there was no oil in there. So this motor, even at the higher RPM, seemed to be doing fine. The only issue we have is we don't have a big enough dry sump tank here. So I think what I'm going to do is I have some aluminum. I just need to get some measurements here. I think I'm going to weld a section onto this tank instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and make an entire new one, because this has all your baffling stuff up in here. I think it's above the split, the baffle. So basically this lower section, if we can weld on some kind of an extra cavity onto that, you know, gain us. Jason said he probably could have maybe put another quart or two. Why we didn't, I don't know. But instead of trying to like get it totally full up to here, you know, and pushing the limits to the return line, which is right here, why don't we just add some kind of compartment out the front? Even if we can gain 2-3 quarts at least, it's all going to help. We didn't run auto oil pressure, but it has the same thing in the computer in this one, that when the oil pressure gets low enough, so in the mid to late run, you can hear the motor actually as it was going, and all of a sudden you get a pop, 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 pop. That's what it was. So the oil pressure was slowly coming down the graph, and then all of a sudden we lost down. I say lost. We went down to like 28 at the lowest, and then all of a sudden, instead of the graph coming down, just a jagged line, we started getting this down here. So that's one of the issues there. One of the injectors continues to come on clipped. I'll have to just bend this little wire clip that holds these on. It's this one here. It's clipped, but if you give it a little bit of a wiggle, it comes off. Now you can hear. You guys probably couldn't because the mic might not have picked it up, but it does snap on. So we just need to bend those little ears in on the side that catch on the injector. That's not a big deal. Other than that, honestly, I'm super stoked. Jason's just got to get in this thing and learn to put the pedal down, hover the foot, and just make it happen, guys. I think there's a lot of potential with this truck. Get some bumpers made on the front and rear. Get the roof taken care of. Jason's got some ideas there. I'll let him handle that one. And then get the interior sealed up. Now, why we're so concerned about the interior getting sealed up, when we laugh about it, you know, there's massive gaping holes in the door. But, you know, if you can seal the back off from the rest of the world, where all the rubber and smoke is, that'll definitely help. We lost the rear section of the fender, unfortunately. It was just like this other side where there was just a small cutout in it that somebody had stole that metal. Because I think originally there was some kind of like, I don't want to call them vents, but some style of like louver look in there, and somebody cut that out. Need to finish welding this up a little bit better. I stopped right here because I needed to trim the metal behind this, trim the metal behind it, and then never pushed that up and welded it. Inside here, obviously we need to patch up this last piece here, get this trimmed off, and then we're going to seam seal all this. We got a hole right there that we got to patch because obviously, as you can tell, there was a little bit of rubber coming inside. So definitely want to get that sealed up. Fuel tank enclosure we need to make. And yeah, there's really not a lot. It's going to be a lot of tedious work. And then, I don't know if I ever showed you guys our sweet door latch here, since this thing is so sprung. Yeah. And apparently on I-20, coming back, somehow this thing was popping open. So I'm not really sure. I think maybe we'll, worst case, drill a hole through here, put a little hitch pin clip or something in there. But we're just going to live with it, guys, because eventually probably going to get smashed. Sorry, Jason. Bound to happen. I've done it myself, so I can't keep making fun of Jason. And then gas pedal situation. I know a lot of people laughed at it, but you know what? Once I got going, it was like second nature. Didn't even notice it. Wasn't a big deal at all. Maybe it will be to Jason, but you know, people ask, "Oh, how was it? You know, pushing the gas pedal on the passenger side?" I ain't gonna lie. Once I took off, I couldn't even rethink what I was thinking inside the cab. The only thing I remember is the first half of the run, I was trying to take it easy, watching the gauges on the dash in there, making sure everything looked good. And one of those times I swung up by the crowd, and that's when I was sticking my hand out the window, and I kind of just gave her a few throttle blips, and everything was looking good. And that's when I started nailing it for the second half of the run. So being a new build, I wanted to get, one, comfortable with it, swinging it around, and then two, checking all the gauges and stuff. Yeah, it just came off the dyno, but it's a little bit different holding this thing at a constant RPM versus just a quick blip on a dyno. So then that's when I kind of got under the throttle and really made things happen. So, and it sounded great. Super impressed with this Hemi. So I think that's pretty much it for now. When we lift it up, there's going to be more in store that I already know about. So let's head over to the other side of the shop and we'll check out Death Trap. Okay, now to the other side of the shop here with Death Trap, this limiter bashing truck that I keep getting comments about. It's hard to control the throttle, guys, and I don't want to put a throttle stop on here. I'll get it under control. I have in the past, so just give me a little bit of a break, guys. A lot of money on the line, so I probably went a little bit harder than I should have. But as you can tell, this thing is just coated in oil again. And I really think after we do some investigating looking at this, I mean, it's on the hat, it's on the belt guard. But the one thing that didn't have oil in was our catch tanks. There was very little in there. There was already oil in that tub. I mean, I literally opened it up and it probably drained 2 tablespoons, and then it just kind of ran out that little bit of a pee stream when you're changing your oil and about the time you put the drain plug back in. I'm beginning to wonder if for some reason we have either blown out the RTV on the China wall, which is this section, for the guys that don't know, between your intake and the block. You always call that the China wall. You put in a lot of RTV, or a front seal, because I think what's happening is it's hitting the blower belt, and that's what's flinging it everywhere. Let alone the fact that we're, obviously swinging it all over the pad, but it's everywhere. I mean, it's over the firewall, windshield, roof. It's on the top of the hat. It's everywhere but in the catch tanks. So that's why I think we've got something. We need to turn the pump down. 150 PSI at the start of a run at 7,500 RPMs. It's a lot of freaking oil pressure. So that's not helping the situation any. We'll get that turned down for this next one. We're going to have to do something there. There may be some other plans with this truck. Maybe letting the cat out of the bag. We'll talk about that in the Christmas episode. Because you guys want to stay tuned for our 10K episode. I'm going to try and have it on Christmas Day for all you guys. I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, but I'm going to try. I got something coming this weekend, and if I can make that happen, I'll make every effort to make the video. And then we'll talk more about this rig. But other than that, the truck ran great. I mean, we popped both tires right at the last second. Got second place, and I really think besides the one time I had to let off of this just because I wasn't going to smash it into the wall, I really think that this truck probably had a better run than the panel. But it's awesome that the panel won because, first time out of the build, honestly, it ran flawless, guys. So I got to say, we just got to fix that oil tank issue and add a bigger tank. Otherwise, going forward in this future situation with this stuff, bigger catch tanks, and maybe we might even move the catch tanks to the box, and I'll manufacture something myself. Maybe make it 3 times as big as this or something and get additional. That's what we tried doing here. As you can tell, I ground the paint off and stuff. We added baffled tubes that I ordered from Summit. So there's baffles inside these now, which probably helped tremendously, and we added a second one. We're trying to dump all this crankcase pressure from 2 hoses and trying to vent it out 1 breather. Probably didn't help any, so we got that done. And then you do have the breather on the dry sump tank, but enough rambling on. I think what we'll do next is I'll show you guys the under situation. Well, let's pull the clear view. Let's pull the clear view on the Hemi, which is up top. We'll pull that off, take a look at that, then we'll pick it up, and I want to say show you the bad news because I don't know how bad it is, but we'll show you what's going on underneath. Well, went ahead and stuck a magnet to it, and very little of it pulls off. Again, I know it probably looks bad, but really not. Seeing a lot worse. I mean, it's not like we're seeing a bunch of flakes of barium material, bronze-looking color. I don't see any of that in there, so I think I'm just going to leave this for now, and Jason will probably come over this weekend. They can look at it themselves. And now, I think there's nothing else to really look at up top here, so I think I'm going to move you guys around here, push it ahead a little bit, get the hoist arms underneath, And let's see what either happens, or if it holds together, lifting up after its first burnout. And I'll show you the underside. Well, moment of truth. I make it sound bad, like I know something's going to happen. Well, that's not good. That's not good. Let me just move you around a little bit here. Let's just have you get a shot of this right here. I can almost guarantee I don't think that's supposed to happen. Not at all. I hope it didn't ruin anything. Now, that's the only thing that I know about so far, so there may be some other surprises underneath of here. Like maybe that transmission leak on the floor. You know, that transmission leak we said we had fixed. Okay, well, let's not look at the bad news. Let's start up front here. Looks like oil. An oil leak from somewhere. I have to investigate that a little bit better. Looks like we might be leaking a little bit of oil on one of these fittings here. Probably just needs snugged up. Yeah, the dry sump belt, I can see. Oh, yeah, we should have checked that a little better. You guys can see the dry sump belt is literally barely riding on the pump right there. We definitely need to slide that pulley out. See, we never ran this thing to actually know. Oh, here's a better shot of it. Yeah, it's at the front edge of that pulley, so that's not good. That's why you want to have tables in there that tell you change. Oh, I'm not seeing good stuff in the back. Okay, transmission. Still leaking. From where? I don't know. It's not as bad as it was before. We got something leaking up here on a fitting from Jason. And again, I don't even know if I showed any of this stuff previously, just the exhaust dumping down here. That's what we ran for exhaust on this. Oh, I think Jason did say something about we thought we burned up the seal on the shifter here. Unfortunately, that may have been my fault. That does look like that's where the majority of it's coming from. And then down here, a little bit of rubbish. So we've got drive shaft that is sinking into this cross member. But more importantly, we've got a rear end that's sitting on a panhard bar because what? Oh man, idiot. Adam, you idiot. Oh my God. Let's play the clip back of that guy, what he said. And then I did go ahead and actually get everything tightened up on the rear end. Yeah, well, obviously you didn't tighten it good enough because you didn't check everything, Adam. That's one thing I did not check. Jam nuts. So we've got some issues here. We've got the rear end digging into this rod end. I'm sure we've got threads that are not looking very good at the end of these. I sure hope they are. Man, we're almost lucky we didn't lose this whole bar. And obviously, I'm sure that didn't do any good to the yoke, the U-joints, the transmission. How's that looking? Brand new tail housing section. Still looks good. I was just worried about this actually putting a lot of stress or trying to pull the drive shaft or something. And maybe that's possibly why this was hitting up here, because obviously the rear end was tipped up quite a bit more than it should have, because originally when we looked at it, yeah, I had known that this rear end was actually tipped facing up when it was on the ground, and the 4-link brackets were stuck on the trailer. That's why I knew something was wrong, guys, because it wouldn't come off the trailer. Fortunately, I think we got lucky. Unfortunately, I'm a freaking idiot. Didn't even check the jam nuts. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go through everything, guys. I'm gonna check all this rear end stuff. Got all the shocks tight, tightened all this, all the 4-link bars, nuts, and bolts and stuff, you know. And yeah, clearly didn't check the jam nuts. Wow. Oh, I feel like a complete idiot. Well, she's definitely rubber coated under here. You know, got this. Oh, and then we never even put nuts on these rear bolts. These are supposed to be the body bolts that are now covered in rubber. There's not even a nut on there. The other thing we're going to do is this floor that comes down. Let me see if I can get a better shot for you guys, even though it's still rubber coated. This floor that comes down at this angle here, so we peel some of this rubber off. Yeah. Anybody need a rubber coat, undercoat job? That is amazing how that stuff comes off. That's crazy. It's even got like metal embedded into it. So anyways, I think when this floor angles down like this, I think we're going to have to put a piece of something coming straight down here just to protect the rest of the stuff in the back here. You know, all this kind of loose metal stuff like that. That's how this fender broke off, because, you know, I had that tire whipping around in there. Unfortunately, there is no lower section of fender there now. Yeah, she's coated. She's coated good. That's pretty amazing. So I think at this point, I'm going to see if I can get those rod ends, get the transmission jack underneath the rear end, get that thing lifted up. I can't believe how big of an idiot I am. Stupid, Adam. Thank God it wasn't worse, though. But we don't know yet. But anyways, try and get those 4-link bars back together. See if we can get that done. And then we'll have Jason look at the clear view, see what he thinks of it. I mean, there's a whole lot we can do. Figure out this oil leak. Transmission leak needs that shift seal, which we have the parts laying somewhere, just didn't put it in. And then I think this one is good to go. Well, there you go. Now the bars are back on and the jam nuts are set. So we got everything good to go. Eventually, I'd like to take this back out, you know, get all this rubber that we're looking at here all cleaned off of there so we can get this thing painted. At this point, low priority. Again, you want to do it before it rusts. But the bars are in, they're set. Jam nuts are on. I tightened all the nuts back up from the rod ends I took out. So we're good to go there. And I think what we're going to do here is maybe give this some thought on this dry sump tank as far as making more capacity. Instead of building off the side of it, we may be able to just cut off here and extend the 6-inch diameter of that tank down. So that's a possibility as well. But now what I want to do is, since this one's good to go, I think burning green, I don't think there's really anything to look at there besides the computer, which I know, I don't want to say it was my mistake. I just didn't have the, you know, being a wet sump and no dry sump that's actually forcing a lot of pressure in there. That was my own issue for setting the parameters so high as a safety. So I think I'm going to head over there, pull the valve covers off of Death Trap, check out the valve train and make sure we're good to go there. And then, you know, it's the last event. We really should be draining the fuel out, putting gas in them and running through them just to keep them ready to go. So we'll see about doing that. But we'll head over there, pull the valve covers off, and let's check that one over. Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Went ahead and checked the valve cover, or pulled the valve covers off, checked the valve train. From what I can tell, everything looks good underneath of there on Death Trap. Just got to figure out, like I said, if we got a front seal or something leaking on that motor. And as you can tell in the background, it's a complete disaster inside the shop here. So I have both of them pulled out, fired up burning green, fired up the Dodge, fired up great, sound great. I took off the timing retard on burning green, so we'll have to address that going forward, back the table way down or whatever the case is. But yeah, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks again to each and every one of you guys. Everybody that comes back and supports the channel, if you haven't already, I know it's a lot of rambling on, so if you made it this far, I appreciate it. Smash that subscribe button, hit a thumbs up, and we'll see you guys in the 10K subscriber special. So stay tuned. I think something's coming tomorrow. Not sure on that, but it'll give me enough time to prep for Monday for Christmas. All right, guys, enjoy it. If I don't see you before then, happy holidays, and we'll see you in the next one.